Let's move on snare drums. It's fair to say that the snare drum is the main drum of our kit. It's the drum we play more than the others and better reflects our personality. I've got a soft spot for snare drum. I have many of them, and I think that each drummer should have the choice between 2 or 3 different models. Let's start talking about snare wires. I often see drummers testing a snare drums with taking no care about the snare wires it has. But if you think about it, this is what mainly differentiates the snare sound from the other drums, and it's essential to choose it with the utmost care. Wires can be made of different materials. Back in the years, they were built with animal gut. Then, around 20s, drum makers began to build them with metal. The different kind of building methods and materials give different sounds and sensibility. The spiral pattern is very important. A coiled wire gives more resonance and buzz with a snappy and sisal sound, while conversely, a snare wire with extended or straight coil pattern gives a dry and dark sound with less buzz. A thin wire is more sensitive and gives a bright sound. Conversely, a thick wire has less sensitivity but more body. Talking about materials, we will find in order from the darkest to the brightest bronze, brass and steel. There's a little rule when we talk about number of strands. Less snare wires, more drum tone. More snare wires, less tone for the drum. So if you're looking for a dark sound, you better opt for a snare wire with less strands like 12, 14 or 16. Why not using bronze or brass with a less twisted filament pattern? There are even snare wires without the middle strands. These kind of snare wires spread out the snare sensitivity toward the edges, getting it drier and reducing the buzz effect caused by other drums. If you want to use a wide snare wire like 42 strands, remember that the snare bed of your snare must be proper. The snare bed is a small recess on the bearing edge of the resonance side, where the snare attachment cord or straps pass over. The snare bed helps the snare wire to stay perfectly in touch with the head, so if you want to use a wide snare wire, a wire snare bed is recommended. If your snare bed is too narrow to accommodate a wide snare wire or it's not properly cut, you may have not a good snare wire head contact and probably serious trouble with buzz effects and snare sensibility. Even the snare wire tensioning affects the sound. A high tension gives a higher pitch and more precision to the strokes, while a lower tension gives a fat tone with less stroke articulation, a little more buzz. I found a very good balance on Canopus Vintage Dry 20 strands, with an extended coil pattern, whose thickness is 0.5 mm and the spiral diameter is 1.35 mm. You can play practically any kind of music with them, having a very good sensibility and less buzz. Very good is even this model from Sonor, that's brass extended coil made of 18 strands of 0.6 mm gauge. It's a little bit thicker than Canopus Vintage. This is slightly darker. I found the Sonor snare wire in general more crispness and sisal than the other wires, even in brass or bronze model. To get a particularly dark and throaty sound, the Pure Sound Orchestra model, made out of 12 strands of steel, is wonderful. If you are a loud heavy hitter, Canopus offers the Backbeat model, while Pure Sound the Blaster series. They are especially designed to get a perfect response even when they are highly stressed. If you have a throw-off that accepts only the cable, like that, I've got a little tip to show you. I've got a piece of steel of the same size as the throw-off flange. Then I drilled 2 holes in correspondence with the outer holes, and I've put 2 screws. Now I can use even the straps on this snare. They are more reliable and precise during the tensioning process. Moreover, I didn't make any modification on the original plate.